Hey, welcome to Boss Run. How you doing? I'm Billy, your host of this podcast about video games. And let's get talking. Let's get talking about hardware. The big news that shocked me was, and it shocked everyone, but it really shouldn't have, the Steam Deck has gone up $300 in price. And this is all to do with the AI apocalypse that we're living through. Skynet demands more RAM and SSD storage, so the prices have gone through the roof for every component for video game consoles and PCs and stuff. So now the Steam Deck is priced almost, I guess, more, at least in Canada. It costs more than like a PlayStation 5 Pro. Granted, a PS5 Pro is not a portable console, but it's way more powerful, and it'll play Grand Theft Auto 6. So this is a pretty crazy time. And I think even at this moment, the other competition, like the PC handhelds, like the the Asus ROG Xbox Ally X something, whatever the hell it's called, the portable Xbox PC kind of thing. I think those are now cheaper or around the same price of a Steam Deck, but they're much more powerful and they would run more games, especially since it runs Windows out of the box. So they would run all like the games that require multiplayer games that require like anti-cheat and stuff like that, like Call of Duty and all that. So the Steam Deck kind of doesn't really make sense to buy now at that price. It's old too. I bought a Steam Deck OLED, the limited edition one, right when they came out, and the price was pretty good. It was pretty right at that point. And I loved it for the most part. Granted, like a Steam Deck is pretty much the power of like the power of a PlayStation 4 kind of deal. So it's like you can pretty much play last generation games like from long time ago up to PS4 generation titles on it without a problem. But anything newer will not run, or you would have to like you would just have to like run it at like low graphics and stuff like that to get it to run. You would have to tweak it quite a bit unless they made it with the Steam Deck in mind, which a lot of smaller titles do. It's a great device. The software on it is great, but granted, you can officially install Steam OS on the other PC handhelds, like the ones made by Asus and whatnot. So like competitively, like the market has changed so much because of these prices that it doesn't make sense. I really hope that a lot of people bought their gaming consoles or hardware or PCs before this pricing situation, because if you're like getting into gaming or upgrading right now, it is really a tough spot. Things are really expensive. And like, I don't think prices will go down until like maybe late next year into 2028, maybe, if this bubble bursts. It seems like the bubble is bursting as you're hearing all these reports about companies that are using AI and realizing that artificial intelligence is more expensive than human beings, which defeats the point of replacing human beings with AI because the token pricing and everything has gone up. So it just doesn't make sense. So it seems like a point where the bubble would burst and the quality is not as good as like a human being. So that stuff kind of sucks. And it sucks that we start with the bad news because it's an expensive, like it's not even just affects like gaming. It affects like people just wanting to buy computers. Like, I know my nephew eventually wants a new like laptop, and, we brought for his older brother a couple of years ago or a year or two ago for his birthday, we bought a MacBook Air. We got him a MacBook Air so he can make music and like edit videos and stuff like that for his like content creation. And like we got it for around $1,000. I think it was a refurbished one directly from Apple, but it was around $1,000. It had 16 gigs of RAM and I think it had a 512 gig hard drive in it. You can't even get it close. Like anything close to that is like $600 more, like getting close to double the price. So it's like really, really unfortunate that it feels like PCs and just these things people are getting priced out of it. And, it's not good for the gaming market. And so it's going to be very interesting because, next weekend, there's going to be a lot of, gaming news because next weekend is pretty much, non E3, right? So this is the quiet before the storm. And so like right off the bat, so next week and next weekend, we're going to have a lot of press conferences. The big three big ones that I'm really looking forward to is this Tuesday is going to be the PlayStation State of Play, and it's going to be a longer one. A big chunk of it's supposed to be for Wolverine. But I have a feeling that sometime this week, whether it be during one of these platform presentations or just on its own, there's probably the next Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer with the official pre-orders should be opening up. But yes, Tuesday we have a State of Play, the big press conference from PlayStation. I hope there's other things that they're going to show besides Wolverine, but that's the big one that they teased. Then fast forward to Friday is the big Geoff Keighley, fellow Canadian Summer Games Fest. And that usually has a bunch of big major trailers are shown during that. They all a big, at least multi-platform games are shown during that. And like at this point, out of these three, I wonder, like watching these three, you get to see who's paying the big money who's paying the big money to get like the exclusive trailers, like the exclusive like marketing co-op deal. So in the case of like Sony and Xbox, I'm guessing they would be paying. Whereas I think Summer Games Fest, usually the games are paying to be a part of the show. So that's an interesting dynamic. But yeah, Summer's Game Fest is going to be this Friday coming up. And then on Sunday is the Xbox Games Showcase where I'm not sure. I guess like there's a bunch of stuff that they already said that Fable is going to be delayed into next year, 2027. But I guess the new Gears of War game would be shown there. I don't know what else. It's Quake's 30th anniversary. I hope like a QuakeCon or something, because that's going to happen. I believe that usually happens in June. We'll see what is going to be coming out of these festivals. I wonder if they acknowledge the state of like expensive hardware and what like the economy is going through. Like I wonder how they're going to be presenting all this stuff, because it's like it seems to be a bit of turmoil that the gaming industry is going through, and like this is the big push to get everyone excited again and prepared to start buying stuff for the holiday season. So we'll see. No news yet about a Nintendo Direct. All we know about Nintendo was that they announced the new Star Fox remake, which I complained about 2 episodes back. But I'm assuming there's supposed to be some other big titles that Nintendo is going to be announcing this summer going into the holiday season. So it should be very exciting. I forget what time the Xbox Games Showcase is on Sunday, but I'll probably be recording this next week after that, no matter how late it is, just so that I get news coverage from all 3 of these big events. So I'll be taking a bunch of notes during the week, and then Sunday Sunday's going to be the last one, the Xbox one. There are a lot of little ones that go in between these throughout the week. Like there's like a lot of like the smaller indie showcase stuff that like, or stuff from like THQ and like Scandinavian companies and all that. There's going to be lots of news coming in from games. Usually those smaller ones, I don't really watch them. I just wait until they air, and then you'll see popping up in your feed new trailers to games and stuff like that, and then I check those out. Just the State of Play, Summer Games Fest, and Xbox Games Showcase. Those are the big guns. Those are the ones that like the major announcements happen, and like they usually do a good audiovisual showing for those as well. So like they stream those on YouTube and on Twitch. You can watch those live as they air. But yeah, this is definitely the quiet before the storm. So it's me also trying to clean up as much little games that I'm have on the go. Because usually also like not a lot of games come out in the summer, but during these festivals, sometimes they shadow drop smaller games that to give them a spotlight and give them a boost in sales. So we might get some surprise games being released this month or announced to be released in August. It's also a way to get a game out before the major AAA holiday titles that come out starting in September, because they know like a lot of people like if they're going to spend their money, they're going to spend their money on a Wolverine or like a Grand Theft Auto 6. So you want to space it out so that they have the time and capital to play your game. There were some big titles that did come out recently that I haven't been playing, mainly because I haven't been interested in these titles, and I've been playing through games that have interest for and that are kind of part of my backlog. So like the two big ones that came out last week are 007 First Light, the new James Bond game made by IO Interactive, the people who make like the Hitman games. That's been getting rave reviews. People say it's like a really good like linear cinematic campaign experience deal, like a Uncharted or Indiana Jones or a Tomb Raider kind of deal. And it looks like graphically looks great. I heard the writing looks cool. You may have seen like little viral videos of like James Bond trying to get through like a nightclub and then like women flirting with him, and you have to like quickly say something to either get them out of the way or like flirt back with them or whatnot. And like high interactivity and all this stuff and flair in it. I don't know. Since they showed off that game to even watching all the reviews and stuff like that, I don't know why I have zero interest in playing that game. And it definitely seems like a type of game I would play because I'm into like, I like linear campaign type of deals that are just like AAA graphical spectacle experience. Spectacle, testicle, pocket watch. But I don't care about James Bond anymore. I just don't. I can't pinpoint exactly. Like, I don't want to play as James Bond. Like, I don't care. And I don't really like the world of it and like the spot. Like, it's just not, it's not exciting for me. I just don't care. And it's unfortunate. I don't know, like, maybe that's me growing older. I've watched a lot of the James Bond movies and just like slowly lost interest of them. I mean, like, a lot of people my generation grew up playing GoldenEye on the N64, but like, okay. Yeah, just no interest in that. Another big game came out. It's getting a lot of praise, a lot of high ratings, is Mina the Hollower, made by Yacht Games, the same people who make Hollow Knight. It's kind of like Zelda meets Castlevania meets Dark Souls on a Game Boy Color, using a Game Boy Color graphical palette. And yeah, I mean, it's cool that these games exist, and I'm sure there's lots of people that enjoy them, as it probably is nostalgic towards that time of gaming that they played when the world was a simpler place and everything wasn't falling apart. For me, it really made me think, like, just like I said, like with James Bond, I like spectacle games. For me, when I was a kid, I loved video games, but I didn't really like, in heart of hearts, I did not really like 2D games so much. Like, I did not really like 8-bit and 16-bit games. It was a glimmer of like where the future was heading. But for me, when I was first exposed, very young, I was exposed to PC gaming and seeing, like, I think seeing 3D, like for me, 3D was the dragon I was I've always been chasing in video games for me. And I remember on my cousin Paymon, shout out to Paymon, PC. He had a PC, like, this is in the 80s. And he was like running Battle Tanks 3D on it. And it was the first time I saw like vector 3D graphics, like just like wireframe graphics, and you could just like move around. That blew my mind. I was like, holy shit, they can make games like this. Like, and he also had like old MS-DOS Microsoft Flight Simulator as well, which like I just kept like crashing the plane. I couldn't do it, but just like seeing the concept of 3D back then blew my mind. Another part of that was like also, and these were still like in the 80s and then like very, very early 90s. And then after that is like, I think 1990 or I guess we could probably track it whenever Spirit of Destiny and Wolfenstein was out. Like, going to my buddy who lived down the street, Jimmy. Jimmy's dad was an accountant, and he had like a nice computer setup office in his basement, and he was a gamer. He had all these like PC games that I think he would like, his buddies would pirate and then like give him photocopied versions of the manual, because that was like the piracy protection was like, turn to page 46 and what's like the third line of like the second paragraph of the manual say. That was where I saw Spear of Destiny, Wolfenstein 3D, Wing Commander, games like MDK, and that blew my mind. Seeing these 3D games where you just have like this movement, you can go anywhere. That was awesome. And that's when I like thought like, oh man, like PC games are a different level. And then that's when I was excited about the PlayStation and like the Nintendo 64. And also before that, just seeing a lot of like arcade games. Like I grew up in the arcade seeing like old Sega games and stuff like that. Virtual Cop, Virtual Racing, Daytona, all that stuff. For me, like 3D games, even like early polygonal 3D games that people think look like trash, and they say that 2D games aren't as dated and they look more like an art form or whatever. For me, it was 3D games. 3D games was awesome. Also in the mid 90s, getting 3D and a 3D accelerator, like right when PCs could get 3D acceleration. Before it was like even just like a video card that would do everything, you would have to buy a separate card for your PC that would just do the 3D graphics, and then it had like a daisy chain on the outside VGA cable that would plug into your 2D graphics card and then plug into your monitor. So like being able to play like Quake with like OpenGL on my Diamond 3D FX Voodoo graphics accelerator was transformative experience. And it still is. I still love 3D gaming. I'm a graphics whore. But yeah, so I've been still playing. I'm still in my I'm in my Microsoft Xbox rediscovery phase that I've been talking quite a bit about, and I'm still loving it. Still playing my Xbox 360. Lost Odyssey has been kicking my ass. If you've been watching the VODs on Twitch, I have been going absolutely ballistic trying to beat this first. I'm still stuck. I'm on the third disc, which is the final disc of this game. And I'm still stuck in the first area of this dungeon. What's it called? The Great Ancient Ruins. I made progress since last time after grinding for a couple of hours to get all my characters up a level. But then when I finally got to the first save spot, I thought that, okay, now I'm going to start the boss. No, they brought me back to the upper level of that same awful dungeon, and I played through it, and after playing an hour, I died and I had to start over again, and that's when I rage quit. So it's been driving me crazy just trying to get through this one dungeon, and it kind of makes me worried about what's the rest of the game going to be like, because it's been destroying me. But I'm pretty determined to finish the game. I'm just not going to just going to get through it. No matter how many years it takes me to finish Lost Odyssey, I'm going to get through it. Besides that, yeah, PC game passing, really enjoying the games on it, really made the money back easily after the first month that I'm going to definitely continue with it. I'm still chipping away with the game South of Midnight. That game I've been enjoying a lot. It's a Canadian-made game made by Compulsion Games in Montreal. Even though it's about the South, I forget where in the South, but it's about the South. Very dark story, despite the what's it called? The Spider-Man Spider-Verse type of stop animation kind of graphics, that stylized of it. The game is not bad. It is highly derivative of everything besides the story. So the graphic style, Spider-Man the Spider-Verse, which is a Sony property. Some of the navigation and the traversal very much reminds me of Ghost of Tsushima, of where you press a button and the wind kind of tells you where to go. That's in the game. And the traversal of flying around and moving and hooking onto different things, very much similar as well. So Sony properties. But now playing through the game, I'm on chapter 8. I believe there's 14 chapters, so I'm getting closer to finishing it. Very much formulaic, the way of each sequence is. There's discovery sequence of just looking around, introduction of a new enemy, the enemy zones where they lock you in, these little arenas where you have to fight all the enemies. Very similar. And then there's you have to unlock 3 of you have to finish 3 of those, and then there's a traversal weird experience, and then a kind of a chase or a linear experience, and then a boss fight. So it's very much, each chapter is structured the same, which I wish they would I'm waiting for them to subvert what they have you used to in the game design, but so far it hasn't. So as I'm playing more of the game, it's starting to kind of where it's welcome. However, the presentation for this game, and by presentation and story, I would say the story is very intriguing. You're meeting all these different characters that are going through, they have some sort of trauma, and you have to unravel their trauma and whatever. It gets pretty dark, but it is engaging. It is interesting to hear these different stories, as well as the music. The music and the singing is pretty awesome, because they have a full-on choir and singers that are singing about what you're currently doing in that level and everything, and like singing about the bosses and like all. It's the music is awesome in the game, and that's the main thing that keeps me going. It's like, wow, that's pretty awesome, and you can see where the money went in that thing. So South of Midnight, I usually try, like every time I sit down to play, I'll play a chapter or half a chapter to one chapter per day. So I've just been like slowly clunking through it. Forza Horizon 6 is fun whenever I pick it up and play it, but like it's like I like racing games, arcade racing games, but not like that much that I would put like hundreds of hours into it. So it's like it's cool when I play it, but like I'm really glad I didn't spend $100 to buy Forza Horizon 6, and instead I paid $19 to get PC Game Pass and then discover all these other smaller games that I've been loving. Speaking of which, last week I completed Echo Generation, which is awesome game. Like if you're into the first Echo Generation is so it's similar to like a old school JRPG. So kind of like what's that game called? Earthbound. It's similar to Earthbound. It's got that whole like Stranger Things kind of vibe of like, except this is like maybe set in the early 90s, and really awesome voxel 3D like the graphics look awesome. The graphic design just looks amazing. The music is awesome. Everything, the storytelling about it is really good. You think that it's maybe derivative like Stranger Things or whatever, but no, they go places in this game. It was a great experience, and I was so happy that like immediately after I finished the game, like 2 days after that, Echo Generation 2 came out. It came out on Game Pass. These games are also on Steam and they're on sale right now. So like if you console, if you have an Xbox Series console, you can play it on Game Pass or buy it if you want. And it's on PC. So both on Windows Store, Game Pass, or Steam. And I highly recommend anyone check out these games. They're not expensive. They're like $25 Canadian if you need to buy them. Otherwise, you could get Game Pass. Or and they're around. I don't know how long Echo Generation 2 is, but I'm assuming it's the same length as Echo Generation 1, which is around like 12 to 15 hours of gameplay, which is just by the pricing of it. But they're awesome games. So I'm playing Echo Generation 2, and the game, it's still a turn-based game, a turn-based RPG, but it's slightly different because it's a deck building turn-based game. So like you get cards, and you choose what cards you want in your deck, and when you start a fight, you use those cards. And like you have like not mana, but like battery, I think. I forget what the stuff is. But I'm not big into like card games, but this is awesome. I'm enjoying it. And like they made the game. So instead of having a tutorial, so the game's broken up in chapters, and at a certain point you can choose which chapter you want to play next. So it gives you a sense of a bit of choice, and it changes characters as well, like the characters you play as. And this is a prequel to Echo Generation 1. So if you played Echo Generation 1, especially recently, there are so many references to the first game that put a smile on your face. Like it's great. The game is funny, but it's also like dark. Like sometimes you get some dark humor in it as well, which is appreciated. It's pretty sick. The graphics also, like the scope of the graphics are way bigger than Echo Generation. Like there's some like shots and the level design and stuff. Everything is bigger and more bombastic. But yeah, The first couple of chapters played as like tutorials without being obviously tutorials. So it really eased you into learning how to play with the decks throughout each of these like earlier, shorter chapters. And then as you get further into the game, the chapters do get longer, and then it starts introducing more complexity into the gameplay and to the deck building. It's still not terribly difficult compared, just similar to Echo Generation 1 wasn't terribly difficult. And there are areas they give you that you can kind of like, if you get stuck, you can grind it out. Or like whenever they give you a certain area where there are like reappearing enemies, it kind of like hints to you that you probably should grind out a little bit in this area. It's a lot of fun. It's very, very charming. And like, I'm excited. I'm probably going to play more of that tonight as well. I'm really loving Echo Generation 2, and it's another game by Canadian developers. I think they're from Toronto. They're from Ontario, the province I'm in. Called Coco Cucumber, I think is the name of the developer. But they're awesome. I highly recommend. Like if you're curious of RPG turn-based games and you're not like you're kind of worried about it, they're a little difficult. Highly recommend playing Echo Generation. Play the first one. It's not expensive, and then play the second one. The one thing I was kind of upset, like I would have, like I heard Echo Generation 2 plays great on the Steam Deck, but the first game I heard barely, it's not supported. It doesn't play that well on the Steam Deck, which it seems like a perfect game to play on a portable system. But then again, like Echo Generation 2, like I said, the graphics are way, like the scope of it's more bombastic. It looks awesome on my monitor. I play it on a 32-inch, and it's just like, it's a audiovisual experience despite the blocky voxel graphics, which just add to the charm. Highly, highly recommend Echo Generation. But yeah, besides that, not too much going on. I'm still chipping away at those things, and I'm really curious of what we'll see at these this upcoming week with these game fests. Like I said, games that are currently coming out, I don't think there's too many games that I'm looking forward to the rest of the summer. So I hope they shadow drop some stuff this summer. Starting in September, there's going to be too many games. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Activision showed off the new Call of Duty was shown. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4, which is set in South Korea. It's North Korea attacking South Korea, and it looks great. It's made by Infinity Ward. It looks like, I don't know if it's a new engine or a massive engine overhaul. The graphics definitely look next generation. They said it's not coming out on the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One anymore. It's only this generation. However, there's going to be a Switch 2 version of it, which is interesting. I wonder how that looks like. Yeah, it looks great. And this might be the first Call of Duty that I buy on the Windows Store. The other thing was they're offering, because this is the first game since the acquisition of Call of Duty that is no longer on Game Pass, but they're offering everyone a 10% loyalty discount. So if you bought a Call of Duty in the last, like, I think 5 years on whatever platform, they'll give you a 10% discount on that. So this is the first time they did something like that. So I noticed on my PlayStation and on Steam, I get a 10% discount. The 10% discount is only for the deluxe version or whatever, the Vault edition of the game. So it's for the more expensive version of the game, but it's there. The thing is, like, I'm like down with the 10%. Like I probably will get the Vault edition because I want the I'll probably want the first season pass anyways. We'll see. Maybe I shouldn't get the Bolt edition, but this is the first year that I want to buy it directly from Microsoft, from the Microsoft Xbox store, but I'm not getting the 10%. I wonder if I can retroactively like download one of the Call of Duty games through Game Pass and play it for a little bit to see if that would pop, but it might not work because it's after the announcement. The other reason I want to get it through that for the great savings is apparently I saw Xbox. If you have Xbox Game Pass on your birthday, whatever game you buy, you get 2x Microsoft points back for it as a birthday gift. So I'll probably pre-order it on near my birthday. Since the game comes out in October, just to get the points, dude. Massive savings. If I could get the other 10%, then I can double it up, because no one wants to pay full price for Call of Duty, right? It's like Madden. You get it every year. But this one definitely looks good, and I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, like I was saying, September, there's a game called Phantom Blade Zero that looks interesting. It's a Chinese-made game, and that looks cool. Probably get that on Steam. Wolverine, made by Insomniac, same people making Spider-Man. That's going to be a PlayStation exclusive, so looking forward to that, I guess. Then, of course, Grand Theft Auto 6, the big one, comes out in November. Trying to remember what comes out in October. I can't think of what's coming out in October that I'd be interested in, but I'm sure there's going to be tons of stuff coming out, especially Nintendo hasn't announced their big holiday bangers, but we'll see. I'm sure next week, like I said, this week is the quiet before the storm. And then next week, when you hit me up, you gotta be here next week, because I'm gonna have a ton of news for you fine folks out there. Anyways, we're gonna end it here. I hope you guys all have a wonderful week. You're enjoying some weather. You're not being affected by seasonal allergies, and you're getting out there, getting some sun. Anyways, take care, everyone. Be here next week when it's going to be the not E3 special. Take care.